Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Fortune Lady deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because I have an insane boss monster that you can actually summon in this deck in the form of 5-headed Link Dragons. I mentioned this a while back when I did a deck profile Patreon request for Izzy, and I mentioned that I actually had a really crazy build for Fortune Ladies that could summon this card out, and I'm really excited to bring this one to you guys because this card is absolutely insane in this deck, and I feel like a lot of people just overlook what this card can do in this deck, and it's really, really awesome. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have all those awesome rewards you guys, like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, or even getting each requested deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Fortune Lady Past. So Fortune Lady Past is probably one of the best cards in the entire deck because it has the ability that this card's attack and defense become its level times 200, which is totally fine. You're not really worried about her attack points, but you're mainly worried about her level because she's a tuner monster. And then once per turn, during your standby phase, you increase this card's level by 1, maximum 12, and you can target one Fortune Lady monster you control and banish any number of other spellcaster type monsters in your hand, field, or graveyard. And if you do, you increase or reduce that monster's level by the number of monsters banished until the end of the turn, which is a really good effect to help you synchro climb and go into all sorts of different plays. And what's important is she's a dark tuner, which helps us out in a lot of different ways. We then play 3 copies of Fortune Lady Light. Fortune Lady Light has some really cool effects because this card gains attack equal times its level times 200, and then during each of your standby phase you increase this level by 1, maximum 12, and then when this card is removed from the field by a card effect, you get to special summon one Fortune Lady monster from your deck, which is usually going to be your copy of Fortune Lady Water, which we play 3 copies of. Fortune Lady Water has a really awesome effect that you can actually loop because she's not a once per turn, and she has a really amazing effect that when she's special summoned while you control a face-up Fortune Lady monster except Fortune Lady Water, you get to draw 2 cards. So this card helps you draw a lot of cards in this deck, and this card just is really, really awesome. She also gains attack equal times her level times 300, so she comes out at 1200 attack points right off the bat, and she increases her level by 1 every standby phase, which all of your Fortune Ladies essentially share that ability, but she's an overall really good card, and the main one you're going to want to summon to your side of the field as quickly as possible. We then play a single copy of Fortune Lady Wind. Fortune Lady Wind gains attack equal times her level times 300, and during your standby phase she increases her level by 1, and then when this card is normal summon, you can destroy all spells and traps, or you can destroy a spell or trap on the field that your opponent controls equal number of face-up Fortune Ladies you control, which is a pretty good effect that you basically have a walking MST. 1 copy of Fortune Lady Fire. Fortune Lady Fire has the ability this card gains attack equal times its level times 200, and then during each of your standby phases you increase your level by 1, and when this card is special summoned in face-up attack position by the effect of a Fortune Lady monster, you can destroy a monster your opponent controls, and then inflict damage to your opponent equal to destroy monster's attack, which is a pretty good effect just to be able to inflict damage to your opponent like that. 1 copy of Fortune Lady Dark. Fortune Lady Dark is probably my favorite of the Fortune Ladies outside of Past, and she has the ability this card gains attack and defense equal times its level times 400, and during each of your standby phases you increase her level by 1. And when a face-up Fortune Lady monster you control destroys a monster by battle and sends to the graveyard, you can select and special summon a Fortune Lady monster from your graveyard, which can be Fortune Lady Water, to draw you 2 more cards, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Fortune Lady Earth. I did kind of consider bumping this card out and playing a single copy of the Fortune Fairy Chi over this card because you have a level 6 Earth monster that can special summon itself extremely easily, but I wanted to kind of play more of a Fortune Lady lineup, so if you guys want to play that card, you can, but you want to play all the different attributes just so you can go into 5-headed Link Dragon. That was the reason I actually played this, and there's a really easy way to actually summon them all at once, which is really cool. But she has a really kind of okay effect. She's probably the brick of the deck, or what you'd say the garnet of the deck. This card gains 400 attack for each one of its levels, and also during each of your standby phase you increase her level by 1, and when this card's level is increased, you inflict 400 points of damage to your opponent. Kind of bad effect. She's probably the worst of all of them, but you really do need to play a Earth monster, which is the reason I play her in the deck to summon out my copy of 5-headed Link Dragon. So, for the other monsters that are not Fortune Ladies, I do play 3 copies of Silent Magician. Silent Magician is ridiculously good in this deck because your copies of your Fortune Lady Water is going to let you draw a bunch of cards in this deck, and you're going to be able to loop that card to be able to draw. I've drawn upwards of like 20 to 30 cards in this deck and then decked myself out and then had Silent Magician on my side of the field and just had this amazing card on my side of the field that is, you know, a waifu, but whatever. But basically what this card does is it can't be special summoned. It must be special summoned from your hand by attributing one spellcaster type monster, and cannot be special summoned by other ways, but they're all spellcasters. So this card is extremely easy to normal or special summon to your side of the field. And also once per turn during either player's turn when a spell is activated, you can negate the activation. And if this card is destroyed by battle, you'd special summon one Silent Magician monster from your deck, except another copy of herself. She's a really good card as well, and she gains 500 attack for every card in your hand. So if you have like 10 cards in your hand, she's gaining like 5,000 attack points, which is really easy to actually do in this deck. You would think it's not, but it really is, to loop Fortune Lady Water over and over again, just to get you so much advantage to the point that you're just like, it doesn't even matter anymore. And then with this card on your field, like if you get this card up to like 4,000, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with anyways, and it negates spells, which is why I play this card as a one of. We then play a single copy of Silent Magician level 8 to special summon it off of the copy of your Silent Magician's effect. And she also is unaffected by spell effects, which is why you play this 3,500 beat stick. She's a really good card in the deck to be able to just special summon to your side of the field off your copy of your Silent Magician. It does come up quite frequently that your opponent will destroy your copy of Silent Magician, and then they won't realize that you special summon Silent Magician level 8 to your side of the field when she gets destroyed, and they're like, oh, that's unaffected by spells, and it's a 3,500 beat stick. Oh, crap. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom as well. The 3 copies of Ash Blossom is just really good in the deck, just to be able to stop your opponent from all sorts of shenanigans. It's just an overall really good card in this deck, just to be able to stop your opponent from all sorts of crazy stuff that they're trying to do while you're trying to get your Fortune Lady plays off as well. So that's it for the spell, or that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn, which can also be basically Pot of Greed if you do have Fortune Lady on your side of the field and your Fortune Lady Waters in the graveyard, because if it's special summoned to your side of the field while you control a Fortune Lady, you get to draw 2. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion, because Instant Fusion is really good to be able to get out a bunch of different cards out of the extract. Then you just overall need it in the deck to be able to stop your opponent from doing stuff against you while you try and summon Millenniumize Restrict. So it's just an overall really, really good card. I play a single copy of Spellbook of Secrets. Spellbook of Secrets is really good because it searches out of the deck my 2 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge, which is really, really nice. It's an overall really nice card to just use this to be able to stop my opponent or be able to draw cards out of the deck, more cards out of the deck. So this card is really, really, really good in the deck. I play a single copy of Called by the Grave, because Called by the Grave just stops all sorts of hand traps that my opponent's going to be playing against me. So this card is just really good as a one of in the deck to be able to just stop cards. Like, you're basically playing 2 Called by the Graves because you have your copy of Instant Fusion and you have your copy of Called by the Grave as well. So basically you have this really nice combo where you can use Instant Fusion and Called by the Grave as essentially negations, because you can Millenniumize Restrict with this and then you just negate with this, so it's totally fine. We then play a single copy of Magical Eyes Fusion, because you can not only summon 5-headed dragon, but you can also summon Quintet Magician if you want to. We then play 2 copies of Fortune Lady Future. Fortune Lady Future is also a draw card that has the ability that you reveal, or you select one of your remove from play Fortune Lady monsters and return to the grave, and then you draw 2. So this card's really good as a 2 of. I probably wouldn't play it any more than 2, but at 2, it's totally fine. We play 3 copies of Fortune Lady Calling, because it's probably the best spell in the entire deck, because it has the ability that if you control a Fortune Lady monster, you can special summon a Fortune Lady monster from your deck with a different name from cards you control, and also for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except synchro monsters, and you can only activate this card once per turn, which is totally fine because you're basically just getting your setup with this card anyways to be able to get you a Fortune Lady out on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Future Vision, or Fortune Vision. This Fortune Vision is really weird because this card is like one of the best and kind of like long-winded in what it does. So what this card does is when this card is activated, you get to add 1 Fortune Lady card from your deck to your hand. Any Fortune Lady card you want from your deck to your hand. So you essentially have 2 searchers in the deck, and also has the ability that once per turn, if a card you control is banished by a card effect, you can activate this effect that this turn monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects even if this card leaves the field, and then once per turn, if a card your opponent controls is banished by a card effect except during the damage step, then you can make the next battle damage you take this turn become 0, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. So it's a really good card to play in the deck. You really do need to play it as a 3 of because it's the searcher of the deck, and that's essentially the big thing that you're doing with this card. We then play 3 copies of Future Vision. So Future Vision is kind of neat and kind of weird all at once, because what it does is when a monster is normal summoned, you can remove from play that monster, and then during the next standby phase after the controller who can summon that monster, it is returned face up in attack position. So it's really good to be able to use this card just to be able to get your cards back onto your side of the field. But it also works both ways, because when a monster is normal summon, you remove it from play. So you also banish your opponent's monsters as well when they normal summon, and usually in decks, the normal summon is extremely important because that's the first play. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing just 2, and that is 2 copies of Fortune Lady Rewind. Fortune Lady Rewind is really good because you can target any number of your banished Fortune Lady monsters with different names and special summon them, but shuffle them into the deck during the end phase. You can only use 1 Fortune Lady Rewind per turn. So this is usually how I summon my 5-headed dragon. So what you do is you use this to be able to special summon the multiple Fortune Ladies to your side of the field. And then once you summon multiple Fortune Ladies to your side of the field, like for example, if I summon like 4 of the Fortune Ladies that I need, like Wind, Water, Fire, Earth to my side of the field, and I'm just missing Dark, I'll use another card like my Fortune Lady, like another card in my field, and special summon out, or Monster Reborn, and special summon out my last Fortune Lady, and it essentially becomes a 1-card 5-headed dragon, which is really cool to be able to just summon to your side of the field that really powerful boss monster, board wipe your opponent, and then swing at them for game, which is amazing to be able to just use this card to be able to OTK your opponent. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're obviously playing the 1 copy of 5-headed dragon. It doesn't come up every single game, but when it does, you win, which is kind of cool. But what it does is if this card is link summoned using a Dark, Earth, Wind, Water, and Fire monster, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls, and it cannot be destroyed battle or with a Dark, Earth, Wind, Water, or Fire monster, and it's unaffected by other card effects. And then once per turn during your opponent's end phase, you must banish 5 cards from your graveyard face down, and it's not optional, or send this card to the graveyard. It's really kind of good. I wish it banished face up. It'd be a lot better if it banished face up, because this deck would work a lot better with it, but it's still an overall really interesting boss monster to kind of think about if you want to play the deck. We then play a single copy of Access Code, which helps us get a bunch of pops on our side of the field. 1 copy of Unicorn, because Unicorn just spins stuff like crazy. 1 copy of Phoenix to pop spells and traps. 1 copy of IP, because it helps you go into your copy of Unicorn really quickly, and basically just helps you go into that card super fast and be able to just spin something on your opponent's side of the field. 1 copy of Blockade Board Blocker, because if this card is link summoned, you can discard a card, and then during the end phase of the turn, you can add 1 continuous or field spell from your graveyard or hand, which is pretty nice. 1 copy of Link Rebo, because Link Rebo is ridiculously helpful in this deck to be able to deal with a lot of different cards that you have, especially protecting you from being attacked. And there's a lot of cards in the main deck and the extra deck that you can actually link summon with this card. 1 copy of Quintet Magician, because Quintet is easy to summon in this deck because you have so many different plays in the deck with your copy of Magical Eyes Fusion. 1 copy of Sea Monster of Thestalos. This card helps us out a lot to go into Fortune Lady Every, because you can go into this card extremely easily with Instant Fusion. A single copy of Millenniumized Restrict, because you can go into this card with Instant Fusion as well. We play a single copy of Fortune Lady Every. Fortune Lady Every has a really cool effect. She's probably one of the coolest boss monsters in the game right now, because she has an interesting effect that this card gains attack equal times its level times 400, and then once per turn during the stamina phase, you increase this card's level by 1, and then you can banish 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. And then during your opponent's end phase, if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish 1 other spellcaster from your graveyard to instantly special summon this card back. So she's really hard to deal with against your opponent unless they banish her outright. Then we have ways to get that back too. We play a single copy of Beals, because you do play Dark Tuners in the deck, so Beals is extremely easy to go into in this deck. 1 copy of Black Rose, because it can blow board, and then I play a single copy of Arcanite Magician as well. Arcanite Magician is kind of neat because if this card is synchro summon, you can place 2 cards, 2 spell counters on it, and then this card gains 1,000 attack for each spell counter on it, and then you can remove 1 spell counter from this card to target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. So I play this card as a 1-up because you play so many spellcasters in the deck. This card is really easy to go into, and it can pop 2 cards on my opponent controls, and then I can use Fortune Lady Every, or not Fortune Lady Every, but Fortune Lady Past to synchro with this and that, synchro this and Fortune Lady Every to go for Beals if I want to, which is super nice. And then I play a single copy of FA Dawn Dragster, because Dawn Dragster just helps out a lot to be able to negate spells and traps. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really cool deck, really cool concept to actually be able to summon this card to your side of the field and play Fortune Ladies at the same time, because your opponent's not going to expect it. Even if you don't get all the different attributes and like blow board, it's still fun to just summon this card in this deck and play around with the idea of being able to use monsters that require different attributes in this deck, because there's so many different attributes in the deck as well. But anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on the screen, comment bar notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.